make more good in the all-new Sportage X-Pro. Kia, movement that inspires.
Quaker Steak and Lube is throwing open the garage doors and setting up the umbrellas. It's patio season. Come enjoy great food, drinks, and fun in the sun. There's always something happening at Quaker Steak and Lube, but we're really amping up our event calendars for our favorite time of year. Visit thelube.com to find out what's happening at your local lube this season. Lunch, happy hour, dinner, or late night, indoors or outside, at Quaker Steak and Lube, you'll always find big flavors, friendly faces, and lots of fun.
New Trail Brewing Company proudly crafts their beers right here in central Pennsylvania. Brewed with only the best possible ingredients, New Trail produces a variety of year-round brands as well as weekly experimental recipes. New Trail Broken Heels is Pennsylvania's favorite local hazy IPA. This beer is smooth and full-bodied. Hand-selected Citra hops lead to notes of bright clementine and juicy ruby red grapefruit. Broken Heels is perfect for a pregame tailgate all the way through the victory celebration.
What's the best mid-size pickup? Tacoma. What's the #1 mid-size truck in resale value? Tacoma. Want to get great gas mileage, 4 doors, and 4-wheel drive? Tacoma. Sioka Toyota of Williamsport has over 25 available right now. You can lease a brand new, never-driven Toyota Tacoma for just $379 a month. That's 30 months, $3,000 cash or trade, 10,000 miles a year. This is while supplies last. Buy yours or reserve yours today and see the Sioka difference. And remember, tell them Johnny sent you.
Oh, hey, everybody. It's the Lion Country Kia Goon Ironhead show coming to you live from Quaker Steak and Lube in State College. No Ironhead today, traveling as he is during this time of the year with the Nittany Lions wrestling team. As always, you can hear Ironhead on the live radio broadcast at gopsusports.com. Chris Berganati filling in with former Penn State offensive lineman and now not alone in the roster of Rose Bowl champions, Keith Goon Conlon.
Works for me.
Good
Sounds
stuff,
good,
right?
Man. Yeah, I was happy as hell for those guys. Happy as hell for everybody. It was like, there was pure excitement the other day, by the way, watching that team. You know what I mean? Watching that game.
It was great. So I got to write the little post-game recap for the bloggy because the owner of the site lives out on the West Coast, so he was at the game and knew he wasn't going to be back home because of the traffic.
Well, traffic's easy out there.
Yeah. It's, it's pretty much just like Atherton Street, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So
with construction and no turning around at all and one
about
way.
10 more lanes.
Exactly.
Yeah. One of the points I made was that Penn State now goes to 2-3 all time in the Rose Bowl, but 500 since joining the Big Ten. There was the one way back in the 40s where 20. I always say 40. Hugo Bezdek got in the fist fight with USC's head coach. So no matter the outcome, Penn State won that exchange, I think. But to me, I know it's only one game, but 2-2 feels a lot better than 1-3 in that game. A lot better.
Could be Michigan's record in the Rose Bowl and in big bowl games.
Well, how about it? I mean, you and I like to joke about Bo Schembechler's bowl record. Well, Jim Harbaugh's is not much better. He created a Bo
Schembechler type team. Did you see my prediction for the game?
Carrying on the tradition.
I want to
for the Rose Bowl. I did not.
To read it, I would like for you to give me a little. I want you to read it.
Oh, good God!
Oh, that was an inside joke there. Give me a couple seconds. I'll find it for everybody.
Yeah, very good. But we've discussed it for weeks on the show because the possibility of the Rose Bowl was just hanging out there. And by the way, the clearest path for Penn State to go to the Rose Bowl always was Michigan and Ohio State. Like we were talking about that on TV back in like the end of October. And we were getting messages and people like poo-pooing me saying like, horns off his rocker. There's no way Michigan and Ohio State are both going to go to the playoffs.
Correct.
Look, and what happened?
Read my preview.
Okay, so here's what I got.
24/7 Fight on State.
In a very spirited game from both teams, the Lions just want it more and take it over in the second half. Both teams want this game badly, true. Offense starts slow, but picks it up in the second half and runs away with it. Literally is the way it happened, actually. Defense plays its best game of the year. And the needed marquee victory headed into the 2023 season. Special things ahead. Penn State 38, Utah 28, or Utah 10.
I was very upset with that last second touchdown.
Listen, there were a lot of people who were either thrilled or very upset.
Yeah. You feel like feel like Frank Gifford right now. Or not Frank Gifford. Who was the other guy?
Al Michaels.
Al Michaels. Oh, yeah. Well, there's a lot of people who are overly excited right now.
Yeah, I got a few angry text messages right at the end of the night there. And I was watching it with my wife, and she's saying, guys, doesn't matter. This is just a garbage time score. And
Doesn't matter.
I said for a certain group segment of the population, there's no such thing.
People who had block pools maybe type of thing, and then the over-unders. Involved.
I was watching the guys we had out on the field on that last drive. And I mean,
I think Horn might have been out there.
I think I saw him take a few snaps. And I said, these guys are playing on national TV in the Rose Bowl.
Yep.
They may never play another snap in a game for the rest of their
stand-up DN
careers.
out there.
There were a lot of gamblers who are very upset right now.
Absolutely. There was a ton of them who I'd have been spot on. I'd have been, if it was 35-21, I said 38-10. I thought I was like spot on, and then I may have been imbibing a little bit.
I know you and Head talked about it a lot on Tuesday, but I got to get my shots in.
Absolutely.
The first thing I do want to say, I don't know if you got a chance to watch Utah much in the last 2 years. I like Kyle Whittingham a lot.
So do I.
Like when I was watching Utah go up against Penn State on Monday, it was like, that meme of the two Spider-Men pointing at each other. Yeah. Like the programs remind me a lot of one another. That's the style, the values, the coaching, everything. But Cam Rising's a fun player. He's been a fun player to watch.
Lord helmet.
And what's that?
I was making a joke before the game because I remember the USC game because his helmet's enormous.
Yes, yeah.
And he looks like Rick Moranis.
Dark helmet.
He looks like Darth Helmet. And I kept on saying it during the game, and then he got popped, and it was like, okay. On another note, I'll get to it. Just remind me I'll tell you.
The 44-yard line?
Yes.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Well, no, it happened, dude.
So for the rest of the audience.
Well, you can explain it. I mean, every year I watch that game, and about the 44 to 40, I don't know what it is. If it were on where we were when we played, it's on the right side of the Rose Bowl insignia in the middle of the field. It's crazy because I just sat there. Every year I say it. Guys, I'm telling you right now, something's going to happen out there, and it does every year. I remember Jameis Winston going back on a 4th down 11 and just hitting that spot and just going in a full split.
Yeah.
And I remember sitting there saying, I have to talk about this because Kerry fell back in the day. I slipped on a counter play on it one day, and Kijana slipped on it, and I was like, there must be something going on out there. It's just crazy because I was sitting right here with all my friends, and before the game, I said, I have to say this.
It doesn't matter. There's like a soggy spot on the field. I like your theory that there must be a sprinkler there or something.
Yeah, what are you talking about? And I'm like, dude, I'm serious. I'm telling you right now, every year I watch this game, something happens about that same position, and it gets wet, and somebody slips and falls. And boom, boom, sure as I was in the bathroom when it happened, and I came back in, and I was like, where did that happen? And everybody's looking at me like, dude, that's weird. That's very weird.
So I think Penn State's ability to blow them off the field in the second half is owing in part to the fact that they lost Rising. But I do think Penn State wins the game either way.
I think that he wasn't really lighting the world on fire at that point. And you're not going to stop an 80-yard touchdown from happening again,
And I feel like the defensive line was starting to figure him out. And so you could even see it. I went back and rewatched, the shortened version on YouTube. And you could see he's a great player. And he's got that, Aaron Rodgers elusive quality where you don't you don't think of him as like a Trace McSorley style run threat, but he can get himself out of trouble. And he was doing that a lot in the first half. I do think they were starting to figure him out.
Dare I say he's like Duggan at TCU. Not a great runner, but he has a hell of a freaking awareness in that pocket.
I watched, not a ton, but a good number of parts at least of TCU games this year. I don't know if they put rocks in his cleats before that Michigan game, but I have never seen him look so slow and plodding as he did against Michigan. Must
have been the field because I've never seen Michigan look that slow and plodding as they did on Saturday.
That's
or
fair
whatever.
Point.
Monday.
Whatever. Yeah.
Saturday. It was Saturday.
So I thought that.
Rising getting hurt was a huge play, but were we taking that game over with him in that game or not? And I say absolutely we were. You think our D-line
Yes.
They felt him out, and they knew what he was going to step up, and this and that. They had a good feel for him.
They had figured him out. And
we're
getting yeah. And then when that other kid came in, it was like, forget about it.
Yes.
So good stuff. I couldn't be happier for Sean Clifford and Tig Brown and really all the seniors. When you look at what's going on around college football, the fact that we had so many guys for a variety of reasons, like Clifford and Brown and Mustafa and Jonathan Sutherland and, several guys along the offensive line who all stuck around and came back to be a part of this team this year. And even the guys who are going to the draft who said, no, I'm still going to play in the Rose Bowl.
Sure.
You just don't see that kind of stuff.
No, and you're definitely seeing that across the country.
And it
goes back to our show, the TV show, when we had, I feel as if we had the pulse of this team. You and I did, dealing with these kids on a weekly basis. The Rose Bowl meant something to them.
No question.
Now, if we played in the Citrus Bowl, how many guys are opting out of
I
that?
think it's, I think for sure. I think for sure you see opt-outs.
For sure. I mean, that's the thing. These guys were determined to get to the Rose Bowl. If they couldn't go to the playoff, you know what? Then the Rose Bowl is pretty damn good.
It's incredible.
Even when we were talking to Nias and they were talking about maybe the Cotton Bowl versus Tulane and stuff like that, which ended up being an amazing game. Holy crap.
Do you think
I got to say that I watch every bowl game.
Mm-hmm.
It's like my thing. I'm off that week and this and that. We're at Carrie's hometown, so I'm in the middle of nowhere. I get to watch 3 or 4 games a day. I cannot stand the fact that the whole world has to tune into a MAC versus a AAC, not AAC, not the ACC, the AAC school. You got to watch Army play somebody, and the whole world has to watch that game because it's the only game on television. And then you get to Saturday and you get to Monday, and it's like Alabama and KSU and Iowa, Kentucky are playing the exact same. Like, that's 2 games I'd love to see.
Yeah.
I would like to watch those games, but I have to watch these games at the Bahamas Bowl, Central Michigan versus Poughkeepsie State. The whole world can watch that game, but I can't watch both of those. It just, if you're going to have it over a 20-day period, just put one game on at a time. It just, it just upset me so, because it was like, I want to see these games. Now, here I am watching these like crap bowl games because it's the only game on television, and I'm a football junkie. So I'm watching these games. But then when it comes down to the big day, it's like, wow, I'd really like to watch like 2 or 3 of these games. Now, when the title came on, the playoff games came on, they were the only ones in town.
Right.
But like, Saturday or Monday when our game, we had the Citrus Bowl kickoff. And then there was another one. There was 3 games before us, and it was just like, this stinks. I'd like to have watched them all, personally. If we could do something about that. Make some calls, Chris.
I'm with you. It's crazy that you have the Citrus Bowl on up against the New Year's Six Bowl.
Yeah. And it's always sitting there and say, oh, that's the way it's always been done. Yeah, but we have playoffs now, so we know when stuff's going to go down. We don't need to have the Citrus Bowl be the exact same time, the New Year's Day Bowl.
Right.
The, what was it, the Outback Bowl, which was whatever it's called now. Right?
Is that the Outback Bowl anymore?
I don't think so.
Bummer.
When the Tax Slayer up in Jacksonville. But all those games going at the same time on like there's like a 3-day window.
The Bloomin' Onion versus the Nutsack on the sidelines.
Oh, my God. What's the worst one? For me, my eating. And what I just could not despise. It just makes me ill thinking about it.
From
mayonnaise.
Oh, yeah.
It's napalm.
The mayo bowl.
It's napalm.
Yeah.
And I'm watching this game. We're up.
Yeah, I'm the same way, by the way. Not a mayo guy.
Carrie and I went up north, and we were up at we went to Southern Tier Brewery on Friday afternoon.
Oh, nice.
It was fantastic. Great lunch, great beers,
cool
this and that. We love the beers. And I'm sitting there watching this game, and they are showing these people doing mayonnaise eating contests in the crowd. And
that
is
disgusting.
I'm about ready to throw up, and I'm just like, oh my God, this is horrible.
I'm going to vomit just listening to you discuss this.
Loxley gets a mayonnaise shower. Yes, stinks, disgusting. But other than that, it was I enjoyed the bowl season. I guess we got to talk about Mondays eventually.
Do you think? Do you think that Will Levis is still a first-round draft prospect as we sit here today. He opted out of the bowl so he could prepare for the draft. I still don't know. I still don't know, man, about any of this.
I don't know either. I do know that I see players on the sidelines who opted out and weren't playing. I don't like that. That's just me.
Yeah, I know. It doesn't bother me. Like
Notre Dame had 2 guys on their sideline. I know that they're a first-round pick, so I get it. But they're on the sideline being interviewed, and I'm like, well, I don't know. Remember, Aeneas told us that, once these guys opt out, they go out and train and this and that. You don't see them until pro day. But, we see Joey Porter on the sideline during the game. Was he on his own dime or was he out there with Penn State? I don't know. I don't agree with it, but that's just my opinion. I said that Tuesday.
The one thing I'll say about Porter, and who knows? We'll never know.
Now, him opting out is the right call.
Yeah.
If he's a first-round pick. That's the right call to make.
If he didn't have the
appendix?
Yeah.
I got it.
Does he act there? Who knows?
I'm not upset I'm not upset that he opted out.
Yeah.
If you opted out, you're not part of the team. That's just my opinion. And I know it's easy to say, well, if it wasn't for him, they wouldn't have gotten into that position. I get that. But it's just as weird as Luke Fickell coaching Wisconsin.
That was strange.
I did not agree with it. I didn't like that. I can't imagine Wisconsin fans being happy about it. I mean, Jim Leonard took that team when they were in the dumps and got them in a winning season and a very good bowl game. And
by the way, I was glad to see him backtrack on sticking with Wisconsin.
Is he talking about now?
Oh, no, he's out. He's done. He's not.
He did say that.
Yeah. Well, he initially said he was going to stay and be the defensive coordinator. And I was like, what are you doing, man?
I thought that he was never even offered that because the guy from Cincinnati had already come.
No. Well, he initially indicated that he was going to stay. And then he came to his senses and he backed out.
Oh, well, when Fickell brought his guy up there, he had his DC with him. Is it the Barry Alvarez syndrome? That Barry was like, hey, you're the coach. You should be on the headsets talking to these guys. I mean, they interviewed him in halftime, and I'm like, why are they interviewing him? He doesn't know his players.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, the offensive line's playing really well. I'm like, you don't know who those guys even are.
You're basically a commentator at this point.
I just don't understand why he was there, why he was doing it, unless that's not something that Jim Leonard wants to do.
I also don't know how that's going to work out for Wisconsin long term. Wisconsin is a program that I think could be in some real trouble because I think it's really hard to change your identity in college football. I can think of very, very few instances where it's worked out. Maybe none. None are coming to mind, to be honest with you. But, you can try, right? But the time to do it is not when your biggest structural advantage is about to go away, which for Wisconsin was Big Ten divisions. Mm-hmm. Wisconsin always had that advantage that if they could just be better than all the other crappy teams in the Big Ten West, they would at least get a shot to go to Indy. And then, from there, it's a launching pad to bigger things. But, now their record in the Big Ten championship game isn't good, but at least they got there. Now that's going to go away. And so to me, that program, which has succeeded for so long based on stability and based on Wisconsin guys, now all of a sudden they bring in an Ohio State guy and he's talking about opening up the wide open offense and everything. They're about to be just another program in the Big Ten because it's about to just be a top to bottom pecking order. No more, crutch of playing in the lousy division.
To us. If they want to ship, want to ship their offensive line, let me know. We'll take them. We'll work it.
Although I must say, the offensive line has been the pain point for Penn State for the last several years. Over the course of this season, I think you had the best top to bottom performance from an O-line in quite a while. You had the most improvement year over year, and I thought the bowl game was very strong with 2 backups at the tackle spots.
Yeah.
Although at this point, it's probably not even fair to call Effner a backup because he played more than Caden Wallace did, I think.
Yeah, and the left tackle, he's been out there for long enough. So
yeah, but he's a true freshman. I mean, you give him a ton of credit. I'm
ecstatic that we're going forward with this offensive line. So like we talked about the other day, I mean, that is we're recruiting. Where are we going to go with this? Are we getting to that point where we got a pretty good returning offensive line, and I don't know who wrote it because I have a lot of the Twitter. There's like 10 different Penn State pages I follow, so they all run together. You know how that works, right? So the two freshman running backs had a Larry Johnson type of year with 51 less carries.
That was Ben Jones that said
Crazy.
that. Yeah.
To think about that, you think about that. It's amazing. I mean, that was the Achilles heel of this team for how many years? Like, we kid around and say we have a great 7-on-7 program right now is what we have. We were a pretty physical team on Saturday, and
the main reason we went 7-6 in 2021 was because we couldn't run the ball.
Yeah,
the number one reason, because Cliff getting hurt at Iowa hurts you so bad, but then when he came back, he clearly wasn't 100%. And there was nothing to take any pressure off him because every team knew we couldn't run the ball.
Go back to Saquon. I mean, how many times did he take a handoff, even in the NFL now? How many times did he take a handoff and he was instantly had to make a move?
The poor guy
has
never had better blocking than he did at Whitehall.
Yeah, exactly.
Like he's still waiting for a good offensive line.
Yeah, I mean, but I like how we came off the ball. We moved guys, and our running backs know how to run the ball. They are true freshmen who know how to run the freaking ball like that. They know how to set stuff up, and they have the breakaway speed.
Yep.
I mean, that was proven on Monday.
Vision, footwork, speed.
Oh, fantastic. And there's two of them.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I've been saying all along, everyone, I think, was dialed in on Nick Singleton because he's a Pennsylvania kid and a Gatorade Player of the Year, and you saw all of that on display on Monday. But I have been saying for the whole year going into the season, don't sleep on Katron Allen. You're going to love this kid too. I mean, the thing that I love about his running style is his combination of patience and power. Like, you saw it again against Utah's defense. That's good defense. He just picks his way through, and when he sees the opening, he can run through a guy.
Yep.
Like, he can run with power, and you want that as a compliment to a guy who can just absolutely kill you with his burst of speed. Like Singleton. It's very exciting.
How many
what those guys
college jobs are still open?
Head coaching jobs?
Because Cedar has definitely got to be getting looks right now. And obviously Manny with his track record as a head coach.
Yeah, I think the major threats to our guys getting plucked for head coaching jobs are probably
that would be
gone.
Where Manny would go. Manny would be a higher named head coach.
Yeah. I think, I've said this a couple of times with Manny Diaz. I always felt like he was on that Joe Moorhead plan where Joe got calls after his first season at Penn State.
You got to make the right call.
Yeah, but he looked at the talent and said, if I come back here, I can have the kind of season with this group of guys that will get me better offers than I'm getting right now. And you look at what was the one job Manny Diaz was linked to in December, FAU, right? Like, he can do better than that. And if he has another great season with Penn State, he absolutely will. And so he's not going to stick around long term, and that's fine.
No. And he's like Bill O'Brien. He has said he's going to be a head coach elsewhere.
Yep.
But this is a pretty nice stop right now. He's making another name for himself and obviously proving what he can do in multiple different locations. And
Penn State has really done a lot in the last couple of years. I think probably with one other, James negotiated his last contract. We're now way more competitive with assistant coaching salaries than we used to be. And so I think that's so important because now when you get a guy like Yursich or Diaz, who's really starting to get comfortable, you have him in a place where you can kind of make him a Brent Venables type, where he is going to evaluate every offer versus the benefits of just sticking around, right? Like, it's the schools are going to be able to offer more money, but how much more and how better is the situation going to be? So if you're in a plum coordinator position at Penn State, it's got to be a really special job offer with a really big number attached to it to pull you away. So that's good. Like, you don't want to feel like you bring in a guy like that and he feels motivated to take a job at FAU, right?
You don't take the first job that comes along either. So you can pick and you can choose what phone call you take and what phone call you. So
you brought up real quick. You brought up Jawan Sider.
Yeah.
I thought he was probably the guy we would be most worried about losing because he's a position coach, and so a team could offer him a coordinator job, and it would still be a step up and be more money. But
gotcha.
Again, I think James has done about as good a job as you could expect, keeping his staff together given the fact that, it's just move around. Move around all the time.
He's had more than we ever knew here at Penn State.
Well,
Joe, no one ever left here. I mean, it was like one of those things with loyalty to a fault.
And that was just lightning in a bottle. That's not happening again. I think what
we had is never going to happen again.
I think hanging on to Juwan Sider, who's an excellent recruiter.
And I don't think there's a job out there like a Cincinnati would be a great job for him.
As a head coach. Yeah.
I mean, not a Power 5, but they're going to be a Power 5 because they joined in the. But it would have been a nice spot for him to land. And I'm thinking in my head now. I'm like, we're talking about this. I mean, what do you think's going to be open next year that we know of, Big Ten wise?
Big Ten wise.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty much locked down. France has got to be getting close to saying, you know what, I'm actually going to walk. I really do that. And then, what do you feel there?
I think he's going to be there for a while yet.
And what do you think?
Oh, they'll never hire his kid if that's what you're thinking.
We said that here.
And we didn't.
Well, people were expecting it for years upon years.
Yeah, so. No, I don't think that's going to happen.
No, I mean, what else? I mean, Wisconsin, Nebraska,
they just hired a Nebraska new coach. Minnesota, Rutgers, and Maryland realize they've done as well as they're going to do.
Yep. Northwestern, they get rid of Fitz.
I don't think they will. It's weird. You are starting to hear some of those rumbles, but they're fools if they do that.
No one's going to do that job that he is.
Yeah.
And, Mel Tucker makes too much damn money at Michigan State. He ain't going nowhere.
Right.
Purdue, they just got a new coach.
Yes.
So there's nothing in the Big Ten.
Illinois seems very happy with where they're at.
Extraordinarily happy. Killed me the other day.
That game?
Yeah.
Well,
I'm in my pool. I went heavy Big Ten. The easiest call.
You should have bet on the Mike Leach karma, man.
I had to make
one
the call
for
before.
Coach Leach. Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. There you go. Yeah, I would have picked Illinois in that case too. Sure. Well, although again, talking about bowl opt-outs.
No, they're running back.
Yeah.
Does he make that big of a difference in that game? Yes, he does.
No doubt. No doubt. Their whole offense was built around him.
My buddy played there, so I was talking to him during the game, and we were like the first 3 plays of the game. They're trying to drop back and pass. I'm like, dude, run the ball because we don't. Our guy's gone. He ain't playing. And I'm like, oh, man, that's right. And we got lucky. Again, we have to say that you and I know this team pretty well, and that is that we would have opt-outs too. We would have had 7 to 8 opt-outs, I'm sure.
Yeah, well, you know
had
what?
we not been playing in the Rose Bowl.
Nobody out there was shedding any tears for Penn State when half the defense sat out the game against Arkansas last year. So, it is what it is.
Oh, it was on their own. That
right?
was their decision.
You play who shows up, and you play with who shows up.
And as I told you all year, we talked about on our TV show, and that was that we had to feel like these guys really enjoyed playing with each other.
Yes.
They really, really did. They wanted to win for each other. They wanted to win for these seniors, and my comparison of 93 is still true, man. It's still right there.
And I think that – so here's my kind of theory of the case through the first 10 years of Franklin, because one reason why this season and that bowl win to cap it off – was so important for James is that now, like in the moment, you're always wondering there are 2 explanations for 11-11. One of them is COVID plus injuries. So give him a mulligan.
Yep.
The other one is, there were questions through the lean years and the better years through the first few years of his tenure. Are there serious cracks in the foundation? And now I think after this season, he can kind of put his fist down and say, no, God damn it, it's COVID plus injuries. Yep. Like that's what happened. And I think
it's my way or you're gone.
Yes. So I think he gets here. Penn State's in a deep hole because of the sanctions.
Mm-hmm.
So the records aren't great the first couple of years, but I always say, as much as I love Bill O'Brien, and I think, that guy should be a hero of Penn State forever. He got out of here before the worst talent gaps from the sanctions hit.
No doubt about it.
So, you were already starting to see it in 2013. We were good enough to beat Syracuse, Michigan, and Wisconsin, and bad enough to lose to teams like Indiana, right? So it wasn't getting any better after that. So 2014, 2015, he's got not a built-in excuse, but a built-in explanation. Then you win the Big Ten, and you have another great season. You fall a little bit short with Trace McSorley and Saquon Barkley, both generational players. I think that James and the staff, year 3, they win the conference after all the hype coming in. I think maybe they bought their own press clippings a little bit and said, okay, like we are now ready to compete with Ohio State and Alabama, so we need to go out and recruit like them. And we whiffed on all those really top 1% type guys that Clemson and Bama and Ohio State and Georgia were getting at the time.
Yep.
So we got all the guys who they passed on. And usually if Nick Saban and those types pass on a kid, there's a reason why they didn't want him. And I think the locker room was not great at that time.
Speaking my language here, Pooch.
And I think James learned a lot from that and said, okay, the guy is relentlessly analytical of what went well, what went badly every season. You can even hear it in the way he's talked the last few years. I think one of his big self-assessment things was we've got to be more disciplined about what we're actually very good at, which is getting our kind of guy and winning with our kind of guy. I mean, we won the Big Ten, Goon, with how many guys on that roster were 3-star kids? Like Marcus Allen and Grant Haley and Jason Kabinda and Trace McSorley. You go right down the line. A whole bunch of the offensive linemen, high 2-star, mid-range 3-star guys, but they were our kind of guys.
Guys we're not getting now because we're passing over for NIL.
Maybe.
But why would it take a chance on a 2-star?
I think it's a balance. I think, look, were there kids on the 2016 team? Like Nick Scott's a great example. There is a 0% chance Nick Scott gets an offer from Penn State now. Now he's a starting safety in the NFL.
In the NFL.
Super Bowl champion. But, there's a balance to hit. You're going to miss some Nick Scotts, but I'm not going to name any names, but you're probably also going to miss some of the guys we brought in during the 2017, 2018 recruiting cycles who were better off without. And so that's the core of the team that you saw win the Rose Bowl. And I think going forward, if we stick to that approach, unless there's another global pandemic, these double-digit win seasons are going to be the norm, which is awesome. It's great.
I mean, the bar is set right now, and everybody's on that. It's playoff or bust next season.
There's no doubt.
I mean, that's the way everybody's talking right now.
That's the way it has
to talk like that. Yep. He needs to recruit like that. I mean, you just won a Rose Bowl in front of 50 million people on Monday night. You're hot right now. Make some phone calls. Get out. You know that they're doing that. I mean, that was the only game in town.
Yep.
And for a half hour, we could enjoy it, and then. Unbelievable news out of Buffalo, by the way. That he's
terrific.
It's fantastic.
So great. I do think that because that happened during an NFL game and there were qualified medical personnel who got to him immediately,
sure,
that works in his favor. So the word we are hearing on Damar Hamlin, and it's still going to be a long road for him, but that all the indicators are not only positive, but from my understanding, damn near miraculous.
Yes, he's not talking, but he's actually writing. So I have questions. I don't know. I mean, did we talk about before the share? Because I was talking to some of the guys at lunch here, and they're saying he still has lung damage. What is the lung damage from? I don't understand. I mean, we don't understand whatever happened to begin with.
There was blood in his lungs. I don't know why.
I'm thinking that aggressive CPR may have popped a lung.
I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know what to say, but I was just like, it's very odd that it seems that they're really, really worried about the lung, and his lungs they're gaining their function back, and you're like, what the hell happened to his lungs? Just what a bizarre thing. An absolutely just horrendously bizarre thing that we saw on Monday night. I hope I never see it again in my life. I plan on never seeing it again, but you never know. I mean, we've watched a lot of football. We've never seen it happen.
Yes. Yeah, pretty wild.
I'd like to know what's going on, why it happened, what happened, all that stuff. And that stuff will come out, but our society is typical. Well, we want to know now. We want to know now. We want to know now. And people are jumping to conclusions. And
well, the worst part is like there's just nothing to say, right? Like you're just not going to know. Sorry.
Let's get back to living and go from there. So Johnny Butler's texting me. Johnny was a friend of mine and the D-backs coach there. He texted me this morning and said, because I texted him Sunday night, I said, I'm praying for you guys up there. And he wrote back today. He goes, miracles do happen. I witnessed one Monday night. And that's just the power of thinking that. And I mean, and I said you weren't on the show Tuesday, but I was telling Ironhead, I really want to know who the hell made that 5-minute call. The NFL has denied it. Now, there's a Washington Post article that came out and said, you know what, that's sort of the MO for what happens when they have those guys get carted off in ambulance with neck injuries and leg injuries and stuff like that. So maybe they were going off of that, but the NFL coming out vehemently saying we did not.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
minutes.
I think people are too quick to judge, not accounting for just kind of the fog of war in that moment, like where that information comes from. So Skip Bayless, who nobody likes, including myself, got totally dragged for the tweet he put out, which, like, again, I think in retrospect was not as bad as everybody made it out to be. But if you're Skip Bayless, guess what? Like, you've long since given up benefit of the doubt.
No, I mean,
expect to get dragged. But the heart of his point in the moment, I was saying to my wife as I was watching the game, which is that the logistics this late in the season of figuring out what to do is crazy. Because one thing I always think about with the NFL, there are so many people's jobs and livelihoods who we don't think about. Like, not talking about like billionaire owners and pro athletes or anybody involved with sports betting. I realize none of those people are sympathetic figures, but there are like thousands and thousands of other people who just regular middle-class folks working stiffs whose jobs are dependent on what goes on with the league and with the NFL postseason. And there's all kind of things like police and traffic and all of these things around when and how games are played that you don't want to just make a snap decision like that where, you're maybe going to change, and it looks like this may be the case. You're going to change the nature of the schedule where you're going to have two teams who in this case happen to both be like right in the thick of the playoff hunt, only play 16 regular season games or maybe, whatever. So the fact that they took like 20, 25 minutes in the midst of this like totally unexpected, harrowing black swan event to just think through and talk through the logistics before they pulled the trigger. Like, I don't know. Like, that's just, it doesn't scandalize me at all. How
about the fact that they were like, well,
they did what I think the right decision was. They took the time to come to it. I don't mind the deliberative process. I
don't mind it at all, but I want to know who made the 5-minute call. That's what I want to say.
Well, I wonder, did anybody make it?
No, I just think it was the MO of what normally happens in that scenario.
What I think is probably the most likely
because no one had any idea what was going on there. And then I think when they set the 5-minute thing, I was like, okay, we're going to get this game going here. And then they showed the players. And I was like, no way they're playing this game. No way. None. Zero. Rightfully so.
So you're saying they should have sent everybody home?
Who?
They should have sent the fans home immediately.
No. They did the right call because somebody was from Cincinnati was like, no, because the police need to be alerted.
That's what I was saying. Yeah, I mean, think about
they need to work the traffic.
What do they have, like 65, 70,000 people in that stadium?
They need to get out there. The cops just don't sit there and wait 4 hours for the game to end.
Yeah, sure.
They're out there, they're doing their job, and then they go back and then they work the stoplights and stuff like that.
Right.
And they're not going to let 75,000 people out right then and there when they're trying to get an ambulance to a hospital too, first of all.
Correct. Yeah.
So they made the right call. If people got to sit in the stands for an extra hour, go shit your hat. That's fine. I understand that completely. With the 5-minute thing, which probably never even was said by the NFL. And I think that the NFL was in a predicament right now. They are Skip Bayless. Where whatever they say, they're going to get shit on. Yes. You know what I mean? They're in that position right now. Now, people who are talking, a lot of stuff's coming out right now about the guaranteed contract versus pension and stuff like that. Have you thought about all that?
Until you brought it up to me, I hadn't thought about it at all. But yeah, that's a great point.
He will never have health insurance the rest of his life. even if he was pensioned or not. So you really have to take this into account. And there's a guy in the Cleveland TV show last night ranting and raving about that. And, it's like, you just can't give people years.
So you've got to have 3 years of service.
You still have 3 years of service. You got to make the team 3 years.
Yep.
So it used to be 3.5. So you used to be able to make the team for 4 years because the guys making the team on 4 years, pretty uncommon.
Yeah.
And the pension is a fantastic thing. So, and it's just funny that this happened because we were talking. I was talking to my brother last week with some of him and some of his former NFL players. And literally the one guy said, dude, I don't get this is before obviously the injury.
Yeah.
He goes, all I want is health insurance. And I was like, oh man, that's crazy. He was, number 1 pick overall. Steve Edmonds, the guy I'm talking about.
Oh yeah.
So he's talking like, dude, all I want is health insurance. So you're sitting there and you got to think to yourself, like, and this is the problem with society in general, not just the NFL. And then when people have like a strike and they held out and they had this new collective bargaining agreement, this and that, they never take care of the old people.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I remember in 1987, my brother came out of Penn State, was a Miami Dolphin. You remember Johnny? Well, you were too young, but Johnny Unitas and Dick Butkus and this guys were like, you need to take care of the people who made this.
No, I do remember hearing about that.
You've got to take care of the people who, like the old timers and stuff like that. We need the help. And it falls on deaf ears. When it comes to these guys in the NFL, where they're like, I want mine. I want what's coming to me. And you can understand that. That's how it is. You worked your whole life to get to that point in your life. The last thing you're worried about is
taking care of like some guy who played in the 60s. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So the NFL needs to do something about that. There's a lot of stuff that's wrong in the NFL, but
in this case with DeMar Hamlin, you and I were talking about it a little bit.
How can they make differences and keep them on the roster? But you can't keep them on the roster because it's not feasible for you to do that economically and as a football program. Do you put them on the IR for another year next year? See, I mentioned it to you off the air, and that was the one that drives me absolutely crazy is people are like, oh, he's not going to get paid in this. And okay, well, it's a workplace injury. If he's done for his career because of a workplace injury, he is going to be taken care of with disability for life.
Right.
Okay, we got that. But you as well as I do know how insurance companies work.
Yep.
What are they going to say? Whoa. Well, this is a pre-existing condition we didn't know about. You didn't tell us about that. No one knew about it. We don't need to pay on this. And that's what's going to happen is they're going to have this fight back and forth. And the only thing that may stop that from happening is the sheer magnitude of who and what knows about what went down here and watching it on television, and the whole country is completely enamored by it because we're all sitting here waiting like we want good news. We want this, that he's alive, he's going to make it, and we haven't had that yet. And it's been 3 days, and it's crazy in our society where you have to get the news now. You have to have it. I have to have it now.
Yep.
So there's going to be some ugliness come out of this, but and it brings up the point of, NFL players are the only of the major sports who do not have guaranteed contracts. So his contract may have been 5 years, 3 years, 4 years, 1 year. I don't know. But when Aaron Rodgers signs a 10-year deal for $500 million, he is not owed $500 million.
Right.
When LeBron James signs a mega deal for $550 million, he is given every penny of that. Do you know that or no?
Yeah,
okay, guaranteed contract. The NFL is the only
which is why,
sport only of the 4 professional sports who doesn't have it.
Like a decade from now, when you and I are watching Phillies games, like the team is going to stink, and they're still going to be playing Bryce Harper and Trey Turner.
Yep.
Which is fine. I'm fine. You know what? You got your window, shoot your shot. But to your point, those are sports where what's in your contract is what you're getting paid. In the NFL, a lot of it is just funny money, years, dollars.
That's why you see a lot of it. You see a lot of guaranteed money up front now. And that's how they're getting, and that's the good thing. They are changing that.
Do you remember?
You have to realize that. Do
you remember right when free agency started?
You can't have the players making the rules, and that's sort of like what happens in the NBA and in Major League Baseball. Guys are like, "Well, I'm hurt." Now, see. We're just built different, I guess, NFL, like football players in general. I think that we have the mentality like hockey players.
Yep.
Like there's that toughness attitude and this and that. Where I was talking to somebody the other day, and this is not uncommon for me to say this. You've heard me say this, that if you ask 1 million football players with knowing that you can be killed at any time, die at any time, get hurt for your lifetime, at any moment, would you change anything about your career, and I would say, I guarantee you 99.9% of the players you'd ask, they would say absolutely not. I would do it again tomorrow.
Yeah.
Because it's the greatest thing in the world. And that's just, we pay for it now. You're physically, you're hurting this and that as you get older and more. But I don't know, it's worth it to me. I would do it again.
You know who might not say that though is the punter from Utah.
Oh.
I hope that kid's going to be okay.
I think they life flighted him back to Utah, and in a mash. Radar O'Reilly was calling.
You know what? I give the kid credit for even doing the fake limp off the field.
And like still carrying it on, like, dude.
So he maybe had about that much contact with the top of our guy's helmet, right? I forget who it was.
A hair on his shin got knocked out.
Yeah,
pulled out, and that was just devastating. How does he go to class this next week? I mean, he's got to have PTSD from that hit. My God, help him. God bless him. We open up kind of a soft shift here. We open up against West Virginia next year, which is, I think, that's going to be a fun game. I think that low-key might even be the whiteout game. But now they'll probably do it for Ohio State, right? But remember that damn Ohio State game's probably going to be, or Michigan, I'm sorry, probably going to be a nooner. So I think, again, if we're getting all the signals that Penn State, Michigan's going to be a noon kickoff, I wouldn't be shocked if West Virginia's the whiteout. Can't happen. It's Labor Day weekend. The stadium's never sold out.
I think it's going to be sold out for that game.
Nope, it never is because people, most people are still on their summer holiday and stuff like that.
You might be right.
You might be right. It is what I mean. It's always like one of those things like, well, you have the weekend off, but people are like, well, going down the shore. Especially where I'm from, that's what people still do. The Labor Day weekends are big at the shore.
Yeah, but usually, we're playing like, Akron or Kent State or something like that. Do you think there's going to be a lot of hype for playing West Virginia, or do you think it's been so long since there have been any Penn State WVU games that's not a big enough brand?
I mean, know when the hell we played.
Probably
92.
Yeah, 92. Yeah,
I was there.
Yeah, it was your freshman year.
Yeah, I played.
Yeah,
go on, play. I know it was the most hellacious rainstorm I've ever been involved with in my life.
Was that Morgantown? Yeah.
It was insane. They actually, I remember it. I got a freak memory, dude. So it rained so hard that the people who were filming on top of the stadium, scoreboard, who shoot down, couldn't see the field. That's how hard it was raining. And it only happened for like 4 or 5 minutes, and then it was gone. So then we missed about 4 or 5 plays. It was crazy. But I remember that game. We won that game. We won them and beat them in 91. But that's the last time we played them, 92. We haven't had any pit type of games. And
yeah, I mean, there's not any kind of like animosity to rekindle like there was versus Pitt. But to me, it's at least an interest. It's a Power 5 game, and it's an interesting matchup. It's a regional matchup to start the season. And the reason why I brought it up is because I remember saying, a week or two before the end of this season, when we were really thinking the Rose Bowl was a shot, I was like, man, the way this team is playing and the talent we got coming back, the player we got coming in to be our starting quarterback, and if you supercharge all that with a Rose Bowl win, that's a 9-month party in Happy Valley. And this is going to be, I think everyone is going to be spending the next 8 months
I thought on the way up here.
Talking about this football season coming up, which is exciting. It's been a long time.
The difference
since we felt that way around here
versus a bowl loss in State College is a huge thing. And then you add in the fact that it's the Rose Bowl. Even when the Cotton Bowl we won a couple years ago had a little clout.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
The Fiesta Bowl had a little clout, but this is the freaking Rose Bowl. It's going to change. I mean, you can see it. I know I do. How people talk and walk around and this and that, and then they're still talking about the game, and it's Thursday, we're still talking about the game, and it's a big thing. I mean, there's 2 ways James can go about that first game. Bring the Rose Bowl trophy out and celebrate the team. Or he's like, no, this is 2023's team.
That's the route he's going to go,
for sure. He's got to be 1-0. it just makes the winter so much easier for the players, for the staff. I mean, I'm sorry, but if you're a recruit and you have Penn State on the phone, you're answering that phone call.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? We go and lose to Mississippi State, in a Citrus Bowl or the Hall of Fame Bowl, whatever the hell they're calling it. It's a little different phone call. You know what I mean? It's James Franklin. We just got back from Pasadena, bro. How are you? Good talking to you. What's the word? We want to offer you a scholarship. You want to come here? Come on for an official visit. You're a Rose Bowl champion, man. I see that James is only 4 guys who have done it now, who've won 3. Because he won the Fiesta, he won the Cotton, and he's won the Rose. So he's short an orange, a sugar, and a peach of the major 6s.
Yeah.
There's only 2 guys who ever did that. Joe and Stoops.
Did Joe win the Peach Bowl?
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
When was that?
Maybe he did. Maybe it wasn't the 5 then.
Because the Peach Bowl was like the newest and like comparatively the least prestigious of the New Year's 6 bowls.
And I don't know who
I
was
remember
the Peach Bowl locked into when I was playing. Was there even a Peach Bowl?
It was, but it was more like an Outback Bowl style bowl. I can't remember who was in it. I want to say it was an SEC team versus ACC, maybe. I don't know. I don't know that we ever played in it, though.
I will tell you in a couple seconds.
But I do know that Joe's one of only 2 who won the other 5.
Yes, him and Stoops.
Yeah.
And there's also of the Saban is one who's won those the 3 big ones.
Well, no, Stoops never won a Rose.
I think he's won, or you remember the Major 4? You sure he didn't win a Rose? Did they win a national title? Was it the Rose Bowl? I don't know. When in Heupel or Josh White or
did
they beat Florida State? Was that in the Rose Bowl?
Maybe that was in the Rose Bowl. Yeah, the Heupel year.
Crazy, right?
Anyway, yeah, 3 out of the 6 New Year's under James's belt is, like I said, man. This season, that bowl win makes it's just a few games, a little bit of difference, but it makes things look a whole lot better.
I don't think we played the Peach Bowl.
Yeah, I don't remember Penn State.
Our
ever
first
being
bowl
in the
was
Peach.
1923 in the Rose Bowl. Second, Hugo Bezdek mentioned of the day.
Yeah. The great Hugo Bezdek. Interesting dude. Look him up.
He's in the NFL and the College Football Hall of Fame, right? There's not many guys like that.
He was an interesting cat.
And he was a coach. No peaches.
Well, so 5, though, for Joe. Look up that real quick. Look up that 2000 national championship game between Oklahoma and Florida State. I always remember about that game that was the second year of the BCS. Florida State won the title the year before. And so Bowden said, well, the BCS stands for Bowden Championship Series. And then Florida State got absolutely embarrassed in that game. They got shut out except for an intentional safety. Oklahoma took at the end.
13-2 in the Orange Bowl.
Yeah, brutal. So Bobby should have kept his mouth shut on that one.
Yeah.
What bowl was that?
Orange.
Yeah, so yep. I don't think Stoops ever won the Rose. So I think Joe might be alone in having won the 5.
Maybe he played for Iowa when they won a Rose Bowl. Oh.
Well, that would be the who was that Iowa quarterback in the mid-'80s? Chuck Long. Yeah.
I remember those days. I mean, I remember that long. That's my brother was playing, so I remember they won out there in 84, 85, and it was pretty cool, man.
I remember they showed a clip of the Chuck Long's team beating Michigan when they were number 1 in Iowa that night in 2016 when we desperately needed them to beat Michigan, and they pulled it off.
Yeah, and then Pitt beat Clemson on the same night.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
I was in Cleveland, Ohio that night.
Clemson.
I was sitting there. I was like watching. I was like, "Damn, man, this is actually working out pretty well for Penn State." And then what did it get into? Then we had to beat Michigan State, and they had to beat Ohio State or lose to Ohio State. They had to lose to Ohio State.
Last thing before we get out of here, I got to ask you, since we brought up Michigan and Jim Harbaugh, if I give you Michigan or the field where he's coaching next season, who you got?
I would say that there's one NFL team that really wants him,
The Colts.
Yes. And there's also another team that has very, very deep pockets right now, also Denver.
Yes.
And they have a situation in Denver right now that needs
disaster.
They need a guy like Harbaugh to come in there and straighten that ship.
Yeah.
So the other thing is that I think Denver covets Sean Payton, but
everybody
they don't have the wherewithal to compensate the Saints because he's still under contract with the Saints.
Do you know where I think Sean Payton's going to be coaching next year?
Cowboys.
New Orleans.
Do you think he'll go back there?
I do.
Took a couple of years off and then he's back?
Yeah.
Well, whatever.
I'm sure, if Jerry has the shot to get him.
Give me the field.
You think so?
I think he leaves. It's just not him. We talk about how he has created a Big Ten, Bo Schembechler type of program and this and that. And that's God bless him.
I think you maybe even said it on the show with Ironhead on Tuesday. So, you and I, we both like John Bacon. He's a good dude, and he's very plugged in at Michigan. I don't know if you saw.
I saw what he wrote.
But that it was, if he leaves, it's because he's just tired of what's happening in college football.
Why wouldn't you be?
Yeah.
I'm tired as a freaking fan.
Yep.
I mean, well, we kept the streak going. We mentioned NIL on the show. Hey, we almost got away with it. Son of a bitch.
All right. Well, now we're going to get out of here.
I just go back to it. And I know that me and you didn't talk about it, but okay, what are we talking about with Utah? What changed the game?
The quarterback injury.
So we don't have any kind of these quarterbacks. There's no depth being built up in colleges right now.
No, absolutely not.
We are lucky to have Drew Aller back there.
Yeah.
Okay, as the number 2 guy. No one else in this country has that type of quality backup, right? So
very few.
Get ready, man. Take the quarterback out. I'm telling you.
That's a very good point.
It's a disgusting way to think about it, but, dude, this is a lot of money online, and there's a lot of people's jobs online. And if they can knock a quarterback out of the game and win the football game, they're going to go after that quarterback. They're going to go headhunt on a quarterback. And they said they're going to do this and do that and protect it. But if you don't have the backup quarterbacks that need to go out and win games, get ready then, because it's going to happen. And who do we have as backup next year?
Probably Bo Pribula will be the number 2. Who, I mean, other than the fact that he doesn't have game reps, I don't feel bad about the quarterback depth chart at all. And Penn State's actually kind of lucky because Pribula's a Pennsylvania kid. He grew up wanting to play at Penn State.
Correct.
And I think he understood the situation that Aller, in all likelihood, was going to be starting ahead of him. But also, if he plays well, he's only going to be here for a total of 3 years. So, I think he's willing to stick around and wait for his shot because they came in together. So he had every opportunity to decommit and leave, and he didn't.
And he knows he feels that he can compete, and he's cool with being in the program.
Yeah, so you're lucky if you can get that kind of an arrangement. But to your point, most of the time you're not, which is why you just have to keep going out and recruiting a blue chip quarterback every single year with the expectation that at least 2 out of 3 of the guys you get letters of intent from are going to leave.
So everybody gives me shit all the time. They constantly give me shit because all I do is complain about the NIL. What I do to fix it? I would fix the transfer portal. Everybody has one get out of jail free card. Okay, you get one. You made a wrong decision going to that college. Okay, you have a get out of jail free card. You can go to somewhere else. The next time, you got to sit out a semester or a year like the old school rules.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
The transfer portal, and I've talked about this a lot and saying it is a quarterback-driven thing because there's only one quarterback on the field. And that's the problem that if you're an offensive tackle or you're a D tackle and you're not playing well, guess what? You're an offensive lineman now. They'll find a spot for you. The wide receiver goes to D-back goes to safety goes to D or to a linebacker position type of thing. They can find a spot for you. Tight ends can go to D-end. Tight ends can play offensive tackle, guards, this and that. Quarterbacks is only one. So we'll give quarterbacks 2. I'm okay with that. But then the NIL money is just out of control because like we said 2 weeks ago, this went from, hey, man, can you sign an autograph for me for 3 hours? Okay, here's $500 to, hey, we're just going to give you $1.5 million to come to our school. So it's completely blown out of the it's done. Stupid. Did you see how many kids are transferring out of Texas A&M?
It's like a third of their roster.
27 players. That's
crazy.
More than one. That's a whole recruiting class of scholarship players that are going. Now, I don't know if they're scholarship players or not. I don't know if they consider a walk-on transfer portal guy.
I don't know if they all are, but there are some big names.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, leaving.
That is ridiculous. So then I'm going back to now all we're doing is we have head coaches who are just going out there and just brokering deals. They're no longer recruiting. You're not recruiting a person for the right fit. You're recruiting a person for the right money. And then it doesn't work. There's no allegiance to anybody. So, God damn it, stop it. Stop with the bullshit with the NIL. Just pay the kids same amount of money going across the board. Give them $100,000 a year, whatever, $10,000 a month, $120K, whatever. Just this is just a stupid. It's not sustainable, and you're driving people away. So that's how I would fix it. I mean, people constantly ask me what would I do to change it. And the transfer portal needs fixed. It's a good thing. I get it. The coaches can leave at whatever time they want. The players have the ability to leave at their time, but one time. And if your coach leaves, maybe you get another. The NCAA says, okay, we'll grant you another transfer portal because your head coach left. Not a bad rule to think about it. And then just paying the players straight up. I mean, you're making all this money coming into school. I mean, come on, man. It's just you're getting $100 million in TV money. You can afford to do this. But then we go into what? Like we talk about on the side here. You're going to get Title IX ramifications coming out the wazoo when it comes to that. If you can't pay just football team, or you just can't pay just the basketball team. It's nuts to even think that how they went about doing this, putting it into play was the dumbest thing I think I've ever seen. But par for the course for the NC2A. Booch, enjoyed having you. I love doing the show with you, buddy. You know that. Go Birds.
Go Birds. We didn't even get to talk about that. That's okay.
Jesus.
Yeah, go PSUsports.com to catch the wrestling match. You can hear the Ironhead. And he'll be back on Tuesday. Always a pleasure sitting in. Take care of everybody. Have a good weekend. Come get some wings at Quaker Steak and Lube here in State College.
Ooh, so good.
Be good. Be safe.
So good.
We out. Go Birds.
So good. Go Birds.
Make more good in the all-new Sportage X-Pro. Kia, movement that inspires.
Quaker Steak and Lube is throwing open the garage doors and setting up the umbrellas. It's patio season. Come enjoy great food, drinks, and fun in the sun. There's always something happening at Quaker Steak and Lube, but we're really amping up our event calendars for our favorite time of year. Visit thelube.com to find out what's happening at your local lube this season. Lunch, happy hour, dinner, or late night, indoors or outside, at Quaker Steak and Lube, you'll always find big flavors, friendly faces, and lots of fun.
New Trail Brewing Company proudly crafts their beers right here in central Pennsylvania. Brewed with only the best possible ingredients, New Trail produces a variety of year-round brands as well as weekly experimental recipes. New Trail Broken Heels is Pennsylvania's favorite local hazy IPA. This beer is smooth and full-bodied. Hand-selected Citra hops lead to notes of bright clementine and juicy ruby red grapefruit. Broken Heels is perfect for a pregame tailgate all the way through the victory celebration.
What's the best midsize pickup? Tacoma. What's the #1 midsize truck in resale value? Tacoma. Want to get great gas mileage, 4 doors, and 4-wheel drive? Tacoma. Sioka Toyota of Williamsport has over 25 available right now. You can lease a brand new, never driven Toyota Tacoma for just $379 a month. That's 30 months, $3,000 cash or trade, 10,000 miles a year. This is while supplies last. Buy yours or reserve yours today and see the Sioka difference. And remember, tell them Johnny sent you.